Hello, my name is Vincent from ISYS 463, and this is my individual assignment number 2. A data flow diagram maps out the flow of information for any process system. It uses defined symbols such as rectangles, circles, and arrows, plus short text labels to show data inputs, outputs, storage points, and the routes between each destination. They can vary from being simple charts, hand-drawn ones, where they can be drawn on lucid charts, or multi-level ones where they're dealing with data that's more harder to handle. There are 4 types of DFD symbols, the first one being data flows. Data flows is the movement of data between external entities, processes, and data stores is represented with an arrow symbol which indicates the direction of flow. Processes is an activity that changes or transforms data flows since they transform incoming data to outgoing data. All processes must have input and outputs on a DFD. External entities produce and consume data that flows between the entity and the system being diagrammed. Data store does not generate any operations but simply holds data for later access. It could be held on files on a computer. The rules for DFD: each process should have at least one input and one output. Each data store should have at least one data flow in and one data flow out. All data stored in a system must go through a process. All processes in a DFD go to another process or a data store. Spontaneous generation. That is where a process produces output but has no input data flow. Because it has no input, the process is called a spontaneous generation process. A black hole is when a process has input but produces no output. The arrow points to the middle with nowhere to go, such as in this picture. Both on the left and the right side just point in the middle, but it doesn't really lead anywhere. It just goes. It's like a black hole. The gray hole is where the process that has at least one input and one output, but the input does not generate enough output shown. A concept diagram. A concept diagram is a visual way to organize your thoughts and make connections between ideas. Most concept diagrams uses ideas as boxes or circles also called nodes, where are structured and connected with lines or arrows, also called arcs. These lines are labeled with linky words and phases to help explain the connections between concepts. In my example, I use rectangles to represent the concepts and arrows to show the relationship between one another, such as solar system to sun, planet, and other celestial bodies. And I use the text to identify and describe each. The diagram 0DFD zooms in on the system and shows major internal process, data flows, and data stores. It is very similar to the concept to a context diagram except for the middle, where it says hiring systems, where it gets expanded and becomes a series of process. It is used to provide insight views of an information system, represents internal process, entities, data flow, and data store. Leveling up DFD. When drawing a series of increasingly detailed diagrams until the desired degree of detail is reached. Balancing a DFD means is the process used to maintain consistently among an entire series of diagrams, including output and input data flows, data definition, and process descriptions. The goal of the balancing feature is to check your system internal consistency, which is particularly useful as different levels of experience are expertise are generally involved in a project.